Here's another alert to be aware of. If your house is worth $1 million and you have an agent who says, easy peasy, I can get you $1,750,000. As a matter of fact, I have a buyer already. Run them out of your house, drown them, light them on fire. I mean, they're just making it up.
If you're wondering where you are, you're on We Fixed Real Estate with Fred, Chris, and René. And we are discussing a lot of good things today.
Our buyers who bought a property, we did the sewer inspection and found out the whole sewer was totally full. And so the seller had to replace it. But our guy learned a lot about sewers, and he's an engineer nerd. So, he kept on it all the time and he kept getting into the details. And now that we're putting his house up for sale, lo and behold, when we run the sewer video, it's blocked. So the good thing is we knew the guy, Dan the man. Moving on, we got the sewer cert. Dan gave us the bid. He starts next week or the week after, which is delaying our house getting on the market. We should have started earlier, knowing there would be problems, but we figured, get this done, get that done. They wait to fully move out, so it's just timing, but I think we'll be fine.
And you're always saying that people need to, get the sewer inspection when they're buying a house.
Oh, man.
We're proactively having the seller do it, so he's uncovering stuff that would have come up during the inspection anyways.
Here's the big difference between us and most agents, especially in Southern California, and kind of half and half in Seattle, but most of the agents, I'll say 80% Northern California. I'm generalizing here. What we do is we get all the inspections up front before we put the house on the market. So we know what's wrong. So we don't have to renegotiate. There's buyers are going to come in, they're going to use the inspections that they get as leverage to try to lower the price on you. So if going in, what are they going to say?
Mm-hmm.
Unless there's something crazy and, way off the beaten path or something like that, where they found something that's wrong. People make mistakes. Inspectors may not look to the left, they look to the right. It happens. But mainly, and we do this in Northern California all the time, we explain it to new buyers. Look, give us the sale price, the mortgage amount, the very minimum number of days to close. You're waiving inspections because they're already done. You're waiving your mortgage contingency because you're already approved for your mortgage. You're waiving the appraisal value because nobody else is going to do that. And the appraisers already know ahead of time what the sale price is, and they can adjust based on something called a time adjustment, which is a made-up number. So that's the way it is. And we get deals done in 15 days up there. Here in LA, it's like, do your inspection, blah, blah, blah. Okay, we're going to renegotiate. Well, we list house here. We do everything. And there's no arguments. So, and we even take care of solar panel leases up front and get it dealt with. And then you determine what the payoff is, if somebody wants it, or if it can be assumed, or any of the ridiculousness of these horrible leases, especially Solar City.
So on the topic today, the big topic that I prepared for that we were discussing in the pre-show was the new regulatory environment for private listings. So let's talk about this, because you had sent me the article from Inman. What's her name? Summer Gorelick did a great article about private listings and how regulators entered.
Don't follow her on LinkedIn. I'm sorry to interject that.
No, it was a very good article. And Zillow's been commenting on it. And really, why don't you start by telling the audience, setting the stage, what is the role of private pocket listings and why have they been so popular? And what are they for the general consumer?
So here we are at Arrivva. We're a small company. Okay, there's plenty like us. There's plenty of little franchises for Keller Williams, Joe's Real Estate down the street, whatever. But there's these corporations that have boards of directors and stockholders that are public that must make money. That's their job, is make money. So right now, if you're an agent for Compass, You can put a listing on the multiple listing service, the normal way. And, it's a little bit in the past, actually, because there are some changes in different parts of the country. But, you put your listing up, we bring our buyers, we close the deal, no big deal. Thank you very much. They get whatever they get at the listing side. What Compass is saying, along with some other companies, is like, we need to control the market to make money. How do we make money? Yeah, we can get every listing, but don't we want the buyer broker sides? And they say, sure. Well, this is how we do it. We make sure that we have private, exclusive listings that only our buyers can see. So you have to sign a buyer broker contract with us. You have to probably get a mortgage approval. I don't know what their specifics are. I've never been in site, but they tie you down. And then you get to see the properties that are listed by them that are not marketed anywhere but on Compass. Going back, 30 years ago, when there was no internet, what would happen every week on Tuesdays back in Philadelphia, I remember we get a book delivered to our office. And that book was the multiple listing service. The first pages were the new listings. And I forget how they even did it. I think by price. I can't remember. And so if you wanted to buy a house, there was you couldn't find it. Yes, you look in the Sunday paper and they would have what the open houses are. That was it. That was the way it worked. So when you got to the agent office or somehow because they had the open house, or you just went and found an agent to help you go through this, you had to have the agent. So they were all making 6%. Every deal, 6%. I charged that too back in the day. Nobody thought about it. Price. Or the representation. Everybody was like, hey, let's double dip on our own listings because we're going to get buyers. They're not going to be already represented. They're all free agents. So they come into your listing and they like you were at contract form. It's dual agency city. Dual agency means that one agent or one company is representing both you and the seller. So if you were picked up for DUI, would you want the prosecutor to be the same person as your defense attorney? Think about it, kids. Think long and hard. Now, here's some other bad things about these private listing services. So let's say you're a buyer and you're in a neighborhood where there's not many sales. And all of a sudden, this house comes up for sale on the private listing. Let's say the last comp was 6 months ago and it was 600,000. But this new house, it's 750 because they know how much the demand is. So they jack up the price. The price really, if you put it out in the marketplace, would be probably 700. So there's the tendency and the ability for people to overpay. And as I said earlier, with the appraisals from the lenders, they make these time adjustments that are just out of thin air. So basically, out of thin air. I don't want to get screamed at by appraisers right now, but it's an easy way to make a manipulation. The algorithms can make it any dollar amount they really want to. So that's not going to be a problem. So you get people overpaying. Okay, now you're a seller. You're in your 80s. You got no friends. You got no relatives. You got nobody. You got your wits about you, but you're able to do transactions, but you don't have anybody to turn to. So you trust this agent. This agent says, "Look, you don't want the hassle. We won't need to leave the house. Let's just do a private listing with just our XYZ clients." Fill in the blank. I mean, it's Compass. You can fill in the blank. Okay, so again, play the same house. Now, maybe you're able to get it for $650 as a buyer. I can get you this. It's a great deal. But the guy who's selling it doesn't know he screwed up by $50,000. You know what I mean? You look at the internet. There is those chances of that happening. There you go. That's the bad thing. The good things about it, if a seller really wants to stay off the multiple listing service and be extremely private, that's fine. There's something called a members only viewing that we have in one of our MLS, just for different reasons.
Mm-hmm.
And that's fine. So it's not on the MLS, but as an agent, we know how to get to those.
Okay. And that might be for like some high profile individuals that are selling their house and they don't really want the general public to know that it's for sale.
Yeah, or they don't want their neighbors to know it's for sale. That's another one. I don't want any signs. I don't want any open houses.
Like, why would they want the neighbors? Like, because they're best friends with their neighbors and they have a broken
They hate their neighbors. They don't want it to, they don't want it to sell to somebody who's one of their friends.
Oh, okay.
I don't know. You know, people can act in different ways.
So there is some pluses to private listings, but then seems like the negatives far outweigh the benefits that you're going to receive.
Yeah, and they also have a chance to sell you third-party services. Well, you're here, you can use Compass Escrow and Compass Title and Compass Mortgage and Compass Insurance, and you know, it's a bundle. Hey, it's super convenient for some people. They don't care, just get it done for me. Price, you know, I don't care if you make $50 more, but just there's one thing that hasn't gone away in this country so far. April of 2025. Yeah, I know, keeping everybody awake. Is RESPA. They haven't repealed it.
Fill us in for those people that are not quite as in tune with what RESPA is.
I know. I needed a hit of my Evolution Mighty Watermelon juice.
Maybe that's what I need.
32 ounces. Whoa. And no extra sugars added. RESPA, Real Estate Settlement Procedure Act. Every real estate agent should be required. I had one yesterday. This was great. He was a listing agent, and René emailed everything. Hey, can we show your property tomorrow morning? Are you able to show it? Because René couldn't go. He said, sure. In the original email, he said, these are cash buyers. They've been working with us for a while. They know what they want. But he writes back, well, tell me about your buyers. Then in the next email, he says something about, do they have children? Older adults? We didn't even answer. I mean, it is 2025, but people are just untrained. I mean, it's pathetic. Dude, you're not getting anything out of me. And by the way, I'm going to put this out on a call, and you can make a snippet of this. I have an idea and a sketch out of some system. By the way, I do not code. And I'm looking for somebody who wants to come in as a partner and code this thing up, and I will be able to get this thing out. It's a system that basically you can make appointments on and you can submit offers on that does not reveal the buyer's identity to the seller. Okay. In addition, we can even tie this to having a bunch of documents that come in there that we would put up, like we do now with some other couple of softwares. And there's some AI things that I have as an idea to do it. And really, it can go all the way down to having a page for each property that an owner can have, that they can upload the documents, put in the blockchain, like repairs. Every repair I've ever done to a property is uploaded here. Something like that. And you can have a switch that says your property is on the market or not on the market, and you control that. So I have more ideas. Obviously, I wrote an NDA, but email me, fred@arrivva.com, if you have any interest to talk about it.
We've talked about it. I'm fascinated by the possibility of building that thing. We just haven't gotten our act together yet.
I know. Yeah. Usually, Rock, we have the website. The website would be fairhousing.dev.
.dev.
We're serious about this. So there you go.
Back to private listings. What are the regulatory bodies that can help alleviate this or help kind of regulate?
Yeah. See, here's the thing. In some states, you can't do dual agency. Some states have this like Florida. I'm not exactly sure. You're a transaction agent, whatever that means. You still kind of sort of working for somebody.
Mm-hmm.
There is this, what we call
A rel?
it's like quasi-governmental. I forget, or it's an organization of government people. So these are like regulators.
Mm-hmm.
And they have conferences and they chat all the time. So they each can find out what's going on in each other's state, what kind of freaky things and shady stuff, and try to solve it on a more national basis or go state to state. I mean, some states, like Florida, wants to abolish their real estate commission. Brilliant.
René has joined the
Speaking
podcast.
of brilliant, there he
René.
is.
Sorry, I was at the courthouse. So I'm at the Beverly Hills courthouse.
Oh, yeah.
Some
That's high
secret,
class stuff, I'll tell you.
some secret processing going on. Anyway, all right. What's the topic here?
I don't even want to know.
Yeah.
We were talking about private listings and the current regulatory scrutiny going on right now.
Oh yeah. I mean, it's actually really funny. Compass is going all in on Instagram and Facebook on marketing there. Like, work with me and you'll have access to more listings. So they're just pouring as much VC money as they can into that. So they're milking that.
Yeah, you buy the market because they have to convince X number of people, and in order to do that, you need to have a broader reach, and that takes money. So yeah, I mean, we could be busier if we dumped $1 gazillion more into Google ads every year. So, well, we'll talk about that on a separate idea. Anyway, yeah, we got, I went over the good and the bad on that. So, there's some interesting stuff going on with the Northwest Multiple Listing Service, whereas, all three of us are members. Chris is local. They came up with a rule that said, well, if you do a private listing, then you can't list it on our multiple listing service. We won't, or you can, but we won't syndicate it.
You can have it both ways, or you could
Can't have it both ways. We want what I love about them is they want equality for everybody. I mean, just make the playing field even. And you're screwing the public by having to go to a Compass site for this, call banker site for that, and then, a syndicated MLS Redfin. They've been neutral in all this. They don't mind Zillow.
Mm-hmm.
They spend a lot of money on our SEO, I'm sure. Good for them. And they've built a good reputation. And they have a good website. So that's, for what's on the MLS. But there's too many agents out there that can get listings. And you know what? More Compass is also trying to charge more for all these listings. More people are going to come down a little bit in price and undercut them. And they're going to have, postcard campaigns from 17,000 agents every day. I mean, it's just going to be a war. Post office is going to make money. Marketing guys are going to make money.
That sounds good.
But yeah, we have, Zillow also said they won't take the Compass listings.
How do you go and find these private listings? Like when someone's looking for a house in Cupertino, do you have resources?
There is. Yeah. Here's the thing that you can't get is those members only listing in MLS listings. There's no syndication for them.
So that would be a separate listing.
Yeah, I mean, it's out there to other agents, which is fine.
Well, it's
there to go look for them.
Yeah, I mean, the private listings, I mean, they've always existed in some shape or form, right? Word of mouth. I mean, it's like us, right? Like, we have private listings because we have listings coming on the market soon, right? Theoretically, we could sell them off market. The same thing with other brokerages. So with Compass is, if each agent has one potential listing, they have a bulk of potential off markets. So it's only about like the process of it. Eventually, all these off markets turn into real listings, and they realistically will rarely actually sell them as off markets. But they can market them as like, hey, I have off markets, because theoretically they could be.
And they could also say, hey, I have the listing down the street also. So they could be trying to get the next listing by telling them, I'm so good, your neighbor picked me. So it's another level of things. But, we can go on and on about these people. They're going to self-destruct eventually. And we're just here to try to help consumers. We like I said to somebody we were talking to yesterday, we just want to sleep at night. That's it.
Well, you guys are champions of transparency and private listings.
Yeah.
That. Chris, talk to me about private listings up in your neck of the woods.
I mean, I'm sure they're there probably for those like really expensive, maybe exclusive kind of listings, but none of my neighbors.
I could definitely see the use case though of someone, wanting to sell the house fast, and you've got a network of people that have been looking for houses. You ran the phone up, and if they're offered along the lines of what you're paying for, it kind of beats the hassle of going through their listing.
What I have in my mind always thought about is the fact that if you're a agent that is helping developers get deals, right? At the end of the day, it's all about the bottom line, right? You're going to hurt the primary homeowner, but if you're a developer who has a relationship with an agent, with a sleazy agent that's knocking on doors, trying to get that 85-year-old to sign the contract and sell a property to a developer for a huge discount, I'd say that agent deserves a 2.5%. They deserve 5% even if they're doing a whole lot of work, right? Because it's really difficult to find these properties. It's really difficult to navigate talking to someone in their 90s, really, right? I've gone to these listing appointments and reading line by line what the disclosures are. And then they're like, no, well, actually, I want to read this a little bit more. Can you come back tomorrow? And then it's driving, whatever time it takes to get to a certain location to meet with them. And they have, weird schedules. So if an agent is finding those like off-market development lots or tear downs, for sure, right? It's a lot of work that comes to it. But, whenever a developer gets a deal, it's because someone got screwed, right? There's no such thing as free lunch. There's always a winner and a loser. There's no such thing as a win-win. You want to market things as a win-win, but realistically, there's always someone who's a little bit more unhappy, right? Unless you bought in the 60s and you're like, I don't care if I make $1 million or $1.1 million because I made my profit. So, but even then, there's always a greed of like, oh, I could have made a little bit more, right?
Or if it's a probate and there's like 10 children trying to sell the family house, and
What even then though, right? Even if you overthinking a little bit more, there's always someone that's going to get a little bit more of the cut, and someone who just signed because they were outvoted, right? So.
Yeah, we just got a house under contract and we're down New Beach, and there's 7 trustees.
Oh yeah,
So it takes a little time to get the digital signatures to go around, but they're able to do it. That's a good thing. Some of these people won't do digital signatures, and you have to get, every document signed or initialed. And in California, I think if we ever need to do that again, René, we send a notary. Pay the notary for an hour and a half.
That's the thing, right? Like you can, and that's the problem with like Compass and with every tech-centric brokerage really, is that, Fred is like, oh, we can just solve it by having a third party or some AI assistant. But the reality is, to be able to capture the 85-year-old, the 90-year-old, the consumer who's not well equipped to understand the technology, they want to trust a person, right? I mean,
you know what? Here's what you should do in the future. Here's an idea. I'll pass this on. Know that the first appointment you're going to have with these people is just to go through the documents. You're not going to hand them a pen. The idea is not for them to sign it. You want to go through and explain it, maybe even pre-highlight it in yellow highlighters, important things to notice. Make sure you have the numbers. Here's what you're going to net. Assuming we do this worst case scenario kind of thing, and we can add blah, blah, blah for any more $1,000 and spend that time going over that with them. and say, I'm going to leave this with you. When you're ready to sign, we will send someone over with a yellow highlighted thing to have you sign.
Yeah, I mean, one of the things that I did was bring a blank form and a pre-filled form because, I mean, a lot of these disclosure forms, you already know, what's going to be disclosed or not. Like, is it a horse property, right? Like, yeah, I'm going to put no on that one, right? If I know that the building the public records say it was built 2010, well, it wasn't built before 1978, right?
Right. Don't need the white form. Right.
There's a lot of stuff. I mean, if on this transaction, it was asking about, does the seller know anything about the property? Well, they haven't lived in it for the last 25 years. It's just been rented. So all of that is, I don't know. Right.
Mhm.
So, yeah, I mean, I think like the transaction that I'm kind of bringing the anecdotal reference from is from a recent listing of ours. And it's one of the things that the seller said was like, oh, no, I think I can trust you. And, thank you for reading the line items line by line. I know that you know what you're talking about. We'll go ahead and sign it. Can you come back another day? And we come back another day. And yeah, it's never going to be, if you get something signed on the first meeting, either you're incredibly good or the person has done many other transactions. But if someone who never met you and you sign something, I would be scared of that because that means that they're either trying to hide something or they're, it's just, if it's too good to be true as an agent, especially if it's a big ticket item. I think Fred and I have learned about this is if we get something signed really quickly, it means that there's a good reason for that, right? Especially if they don't know you.
Yeah. Here's another alert to be aware of. If your house is worth $1 million and you have an agent who says, easy peasy, I can get you $1,750,000. As a matter of fact, I have a buyer already. Run them out of your house, drown them, light them on fire. I mean, they're just making it up. They are lying to you 99.9999999%.
If it's too good to be true, it probably is.
It's like, then what happens? Oh, well, that buyer, thought the house faced to the west and was faced to the east, and they can't buy it. And then nobody comes to see it. They have to start marketing it. Then, the market has changed and nothing we control, and interest rates are up, and and now let's come down $200,000. And in the end, you sell it for like less than it's worth. Not every market is a hot market. Okay. Not every house is wanted by people. Sometimes there's just awful houses. They're just in the wrong place. They smell bad. They look bad. You want top dollar for it. You're not going to get it.
Mm-hmm.
It's like, learn the word fastidious. Okay. Look it up, kids. Assume you're that person who's going to be the buyer. That's how you have to make your house look. Period.
Seems like pretty logical for any sort of selling situation.
Yeah, but there's people that just want to cut corners here and there. And little stuff means a lot.
Unless you're selling it as a flip, like that someone's gonna tear it down, or that it needs that much of remodeling. You get great.
In terms of saying, if you want the higher value, you got to do the higher things.
Now, what's that service? Now's a good time to re-hype that service you guys were talking about, where you can work with a construction company to help sell the home, like bring it up in line and make those repairs before you sell the house. So you almost flip your own house.
Yeah, so there's different concierge services. We're not going to just refer someone to just one place. One of the big ones, and they're really good at finishing the projects fairly quickly, is Revive Real Estate. It's revive.realestate. That's their website. And I don't get paid anything to market them. But what they do is they actually have different products. The main one, and the product that we've used in the past, is the Sell 360, which is they go in there, they actually have deadlines where they say they'll finish within 5 weeks, and they can remodel the A through Z. They take care of doing the permits, they take care of doing the project management of it, everything, right? So they'll give you different options, and they have, the basic, the middle and premium plans.
Mhm.
And that way you get the home remodeled without you having to, deal with the contractors and someone canceling on you and et cetera, et cetera. They also pay for it up front, and you just pay them at closing. So that's a big value on it, especially for those that don't have the financial means to it. Secondarily, there's other products, right? The second product that they have is where we might sell it first as a fixer. That way the sellers can get some money out of it. And then there's a contract where, well, actually, sorry, I'm misspeaking. So Revive will pay the seller like what an appraised value of it is, kind of
As is.
probably as is value. So they pay the seller has the money, but then Revive then remodels the house, we list the house again, and once it's fully ready, and we get the premium value, then the profits are split with the sellers. Obviously, the Revive takes a cut. So that's helpful as well. And their newest product, I think it's their newest product, is where, let's say you're buying a fixer, Revive can actually go into the property and do estimates and help you remodel the property.
Is it just in California? Is that just in the Bay Area? Or?
One of the people that we work with in the past, I told them that I was going to get all of you guys to get a demo for it because they have different things for them. So, I actually spoke with them last week. So they have a few different things. They have AI generated tools as well. So I actually ran something, but Brett and I have been dealing with other stuff. So I kind of left Revive to the side here. But it's a really great product. I mean, you're paying for the ease of, having one place. Obviously it's going to be, when there's middlemen in between, you're not going to get the best price, right? And that's what you lose, right? So I'm always hesitant to use these type of products or any product, unless you can quantify that, hey, I'm not going to be able to do it myself. I'm realistically not going to look into 3, 4, 5 different contracting companies for painting and get different quotes. If you're not going to do that, might as well use this company because they know how to do things correctly, right? And they're like,
they hire the subs, they take care of all of that. They're a bigger company, so they have bigger and good insurance. It's little things.
For a busy person living in an older house that definitely needs to be fixed up, that seems like a great way. It seems easy to line item out how much potential more you can make by just fixing it's being flipped.
In terms of timelines, so Revive was telling me that, let's say that you buy a fixer that's barely livable. If you're going to move into the property, they are able to finish a project in around 5 to 6 months. But if you want to stay there and live there, if you stay there, they can finish in like 5 to 6 months because they're going to be working like in different modules. Yeah. If you're not living in the property, they can finish in 12 weeks.
Like a kitchen remodel and all that, and bath?
They can do an entire
3 months. It shouldn't be.
I know, but it's like unheard of if you do that, like a remodel. Like that never happens.
Well, what happens is that someone starts to remodel and they don't have a, one size fits all.
It's always something. You're always waiting for something. Something's back order.
That's the thing. You got to be able to order everything and have absolutely everything ready to go. And then that should be there. Sometimes just little finishing things, but have it all done. The cabinets.
I mean, all depends on permits, right? It's city to city. And it depends on what the remodel is. When it takes a long time, it's because someone's trying to, do something funky, like do a deck that is not necessarily legal, but they want an exception, and they're saying like, oh, my neighbor did it, so I want it to. But if it's like a, just a simple kitchen thing, I mean, it's gonna go fairly quickly, right? If you're gonna do like things like solar panels sometimes take a bit longer because not only do you have to get the permits for them, but the electric company has to go in there and approve of it, right? That it was done correctly. So, they said 12 weeks. And in our listing that we've done, they did finish everything in 5 weeks. They actually did an entire rehab in 5 weeks.
Wow.
That's pretty impressive. Good tip. Fred. What happens after you're under contract? The escrow responsibility, the lender stuff.
Just want to kind of throw into your head what happens once you sign the contract. First of all, let me say you have a legal contract. It says you got to do things, the seller's got to do things, and everybody's got to follow what it says. The number of days, the dollar amounts, whatever's in the contract. I shouldn't have to say that, but it's amazing how many people, like today, the escrow company's name is in the contract who we're going to use. Our buyer decides, well, I'm going to go out and shop escrow companies. No, dude, you don't understand. You signed the contract. That's the way it is. And don't worry about it. We're good about finding companies that do great work. And this escrow company basically has a flat fee because it's the title company that also does escrow as part of their title company, as opposed to a separate escrow company that needs to find title. Anyway, it's another whole discussion. So anyway, let's speak about them. The first thing you got to do is you got to contact in one way, shape, or form the escrow company and find out their wiring instructions or however they're going to do it. Fidelity National, that we deal with it, what they do is they have a system where they text people and then they get logged into their back end system, and that's where the numbers are exchanged, as opposed to most escrow companies. Oh, email me your wiring instructions. No, or I'll call you and get your wire instructions. No, you don't want to do that. You always want to contact the escrow company because you don't know who's contacting you. It could be the escrow company. There's a 99% chance it is, but you never know. So always try to contact the escrow company. Contact them right away. The next thing, you're getting a mortgage. Let the agent know, your loan officer know, hey, I'm under contract. Here's the contract, send them the contract. Here's what happens then. Also let them know who the escrow person is. Ask your buyer broker if you don't know who that is. Because the lender and the escrow company hook up and then they make up estimated numbers of what the closing cost should be and how much cash you're going to need. It's called the LE, loan estimate. It's not the final numbers. I'll let your loan officer explain the details of what's locked in and what could fluctuate by 10% and what could fluctuate that they don't have any control over, like homeowners insurance. Anyway, so that's the next thing. Then you must do is acknowledge the LE in one system or another. I'm not sure what kind of system you're using, but that LE's got to be click, and all borrowers have to click through it. Mm-hmm. Then that's accepted. That's when the mortgage company can actually start doing your mortgage. Before then, they can't do anything until you finish that thing. So it's really important that you sign it. Then once they do that, they can order the appraisal. And that's the only thing that really takes time. Everything else is just paperwork that you're giving them. So that's, pretty automatic where it should be. So they order the appraisal. They need a copy of the contract. The appraiser needs a copy of the contract. So the appraiser knows the sale price of the property before they do the appraisal. That's the wonderful system, kids. That's another thing. Anyway, on you go. That's number 2. Number 3, homeowners insurance. You're even in a condo, you need the interior covered. It's called an HO6 policy. Go start searching. And you should have kind of done this before you sign the contract, just to make sure that the place is insurable. And be prepared for fair plan until they go bankrupt. And then who knows what has happened. But for now, that's the worst case in some parts. Those are the things that you got to do, and you do them right away. The other things to then there's like a quiet period after you started that stuff. Maybe the lender asks you for a couple things. Maybe you're doing inspections on the property, so you got to have those arranged and set up. Keep within your time brackets, okay? And then we kind of come around second base, and I use the baseball analogy since the season started. Once you hit third base, now it kind of everything speeds up again. So everything's done. You've negotiated everything with the seller, with inspections or mortgage contingencies or whatever. Just going past that because the agent will be deeply involved in that stuff. Then you come to the home stretch. Okay, the lender says, okay, the loan is clear. Now the lender and the title company get together and they make sure the final numbers, or what's 99% the final numbers, come together. And then the lender issues the document, and then you sign the documents. They arrange for notary, you go into an office. If you're in a wet state, as they call them, like Pennsylvania, you actually meet with the sellers at this closing. But before you do that, or maybe at the same time, same day you sign, you want to go for a walkthrough.
Mm-hmm.
You want to make sure to arrange that a couple of days before, in case there's people moving or whatever. So once you go through that walkthrough, that's where, and René, I'm going to let you talk about the walkthrough, since this is what you do with people and what it is.
The walkthrough is, it's a really complicated, I think it's a form that needs to be redone, because here's the thing. First and foremost, a walkthrough does not have to be done when it's completely empty. So there's nowhere in the contract that says, oh, staging has to be out of the property for this to be a valid walkthrough, which I think is ridiculous. I think that in order for someone to do a walkthrough, the property should be empty. Anyway, what a walkthrough is you as the buyer are going to the property a few days before the transaction is closed to verify. It's a verification of property. So to verify that everything that you saw when you first saw a property is still the same. If there were any items that were supposed to be left behind, this can include anything like electronic doorbells, through chandeliers, anything that is attached to the property. We want to verify that it's still there. This can be appliances. What we don't want to see is something where we go into the property, the stove is missing, the fridge is missing, no windows, things, no copper wiring. That's never really happened to us. But the whole idea is, maybe the sellers weren't happy with what offer they got, and they're like, you know what, screw this, I'm going to, destroy the house. Or maybe if the tenants were living there.
So I'm sure it happens.
I'm sure it happens. It hasn't happened to us, luckily.
Knock
on everything. But the whole idea is, it's not an inspection, right? So that sometimes people confuse the walkthrough with an inspection. So we can't just go back and say like, hey, we noticed that this foundation is messy or something. That is, you waive the inspection period. You have to have done that before the continuous period was over. But anything that would have been, that's easily changed from when you first went on the contract. If there's 3 broken windows where before they obviously weren't broken windows and it wasn't a disclosure, then it's a big problem. And it's always about if there's anything new that was not disclosed before, right? That's a big thing. So it also depends on how big the item is.
Here's one other thing you should realize too. There might have been a carpet down, and now they moved the carpet, and you don't like that it's a 2-tone floor. That's your problem. Okay, the carpet was there, you could have moved it, and that's the way it works. Ask permission and see it, but yeah, and the inspector should have gotten it. That's another thing.
Talking about extreme circumstances, you are doing a walkthrough and you just happen to notice that the slab is cracked and it wasn't noticed before or disclosed. How does someone get out of this? Or how do you work through that?
Well, it depends on the seller, right? Sometimes the seller says, hey, look, dang, I did not realize that this was happening. You know what? Well, first of all, from our side, we'll contact Escrow and say like, hey, we don't agree with closing because we just found something that was out of what we expected. So we shut down Escrow so that it's not, it doesn't get recorded by the county. And then we go back to the sellers and say, hey, we found this problem. And then it's up to the seller what they want to, how they want to proceed. Realistically, that would be something that would be a legal claim where you have to go to court and say, hey, it's a new disclosure. That the 3% deposit is being held by Escrow. So that 3% Escrow would be held. And that's why it's a third party, because then you have to resolve those issues. It would just be depending on like how much you want to fight in and how much money you think it's going to cost. Does it cost more than the 3% deposit that's there? Do we just walk away from the transaction? Theoretically, the sellers can say, you're not performing, we're going to keep your deposit, you waived out contingencies, and then you as a buyer have to go to the court and say, hey, I want my 2% deposit back. We found something that was not expected, so we should be able to get out of the transaction. But that actually out of our, purview, we're not attorneys. So you would have to talk to attorneys to kind of figure out, okay, what is a big next step?
I mean, life just happens. What if you set up a 30-day escrow and just you need another 15? How hard is it to change it to a 45-day close?
I mean, number one, we'll fight for you, but the seller could just say, no. But it would be stupid of them because then they'd have to get out of this contract. That'll take a few days to negotiate. You have to give me your deposit back. And then they got to put it back on the market and then an open house. So within the 15 days, if you know it's a solvable problem, fine, go ahead. It's case to case. So that's why you have a buyer broker. He tries to do their best to help you.
I think it just depends on the seller. Like if they needed the money for something else, the other thing that can happen is there'll be a negotiated extension where they will just charge the buyers how much it would cost the sellers. It might be a 20-day per late. It might be $100. So it really just depends on like how nice or how aggressive the sellers want to be. But theoretically, they could give a notice to close, but that's the other thing, right? And in the transaction, they would give a notice to close, and you have 3 days. If after 3 days you can't close, that's when you can collect the 3% deposit. But usually, if it's a small delay, it's not a big deal. If we needed an extra month, that's when things get a little bit rough.
Interesting. We covered a lot of material today. Do one more round robin. Any last thoughts, Chris?
Yes, one of the big things.
Your name's not Chris.
I didn't say last
sorry.
time. Go ahead.
Give her 30 seconds to think of something.
While Chris is thinking, the big thoughts is on if you're buying a house, make sure that it has its renewable energy and its own source of electricity, or else you could end up like Spain and Portugal today, where most of the country still does not have electricity.
I didn't hear that.
Oh yeah.
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 It's a massive
In parts of France. Yeah.
Oh.
Portugal's back, I think.
Really?
But I didn't hear about things.
Yeah. I mean, I think Spain is at 50% power right now.
Oh, by the way, congratulations to California, now the 4th largest economy in the world.
Yeah.
If
If you take California out of the United States economy,
14%.
Yeah,
14% of the GDP.
number one. If you take California out,
Oh, yeah. No,
Yeah.
the U.S. is number one by
Yeah.
tenfold.
okay,
Yeah, no, it's not even, it's not close.
okay.
There you go.
Mhm.
We're available on
Yeah.
TikTok, kids.
I am.
We take snippets of the show and interact with some other stupid stuff every once in a while, but then I just attack 2.5% agents when they're just giving misinformation. It's pathetic. But anyway, it's a war out there, kids. It's a market war.
When you're done listening,
Getting our trans.
and engage there.
Yeah. How do we get the transparency that we do out to the general public? And with all these people that are all the same, last thing, the same thing that every real estate consultant is telling them to say about their worth and value.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
Yeah, there you have it. Fixing real estate one day at a time.